What's up, guys? Tyler back on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel with your Week 6 predictions. Yeah, and we're already on to Week 6, sixth edition of my weekly predictions. And, a lot of you have been attacking me, hey? As I've been seeing some of these comments about how bad I've been doing. Well, I'm 37-13 on straight picks thus far this season. That's 74%. That's very, very good. Look at these guys on College Game Day who have, records in the 60 and even 50% being correct. So I don't necessarily understand that too much. I thought that this year is actually one of my better years in straight picks. If you're watching here, I made picks before, and I'm doing a lot better this year than I have in the past. Also, this week I only put 9 graphics in. Usually I do 10. Here's the 10th game. Georgia Tech taking on Duke. Georgia Tech's a couple-point favorite. I like the Yellow Jackets here. They just came off of a bye. And, oh, by the way, Manny Diaz sitting at 5-0. Duke's probably one of the most underrated teams in the ACC. And they're a team no one's talking about. And they were kind of them and SMU were my two surprisers in the ACC in the preseason. And, oh, by the way, those two teams are 4-1 and 5-0. So give me some cred there for being wrong all the time, right? But, I think Duke's going to lose their first game of the year. Georgia Tech just had a bye week. They're a rush team. And, oh, by the way, Duke just had an emotional come-from-behind win against a rival on the road. I think they're due for a loss. Give me the Yellow Jackets. Let's jump into our upset pick here. And technically speaking, I guess as of right now, this is not officially an upset if you base it off a point spread, as Washington is a 1-point home favorite. They started as a 3.5-point home favorite. A lot of people are riding Michigan, but I'm actually going to go with the opposite of that thought. And, oh, by the way, Michigan's a top 10 team. Come on now. We could be critical of, Vegas. We could say, well, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't be a couple-point favorite. But anyway, I like Washington in this game. Washington has had a very interesting start to the season in which I thought they've played a little bit better than I thought they would be, especially defensively. And they've just lost 2 games that they definitely should have beaten Washington State. They couldn't get a yard on at the 1-yard line. Took them 4 plays from the 1-yard line. They actually went back a yard. And then against Rutgers, they were down majority of that game and then just couldn't fight back. Rutgers has a very good defense. But this rush defensive team for Washington actually isn't bad. And if you look at their 2 losses, they've given up a significant amount of rushing yards. And that's going to be pretty much the game plan. Shut down the run and run the ball on Michigan. And here's the thing with Washington. They have the most underrated running back in the entire conference in Jonah Coleman. He's getting about 7.5 yards per carry. Just ridiculous. I mean, every game he's had almost 100 yards in every single game. I think 4 out of 5 of those games. I like the Huskies here at home. It's a night game, and it's a situation in which Washington is finally due for one of these types of wins here. Coach Fish hasn't really had the season that he's wanted, first-year head coach at Washington, but Will Rogers, I think, can throw the football around, especially with Michigan's depleted secondary. And I don't know if Will Johnson's going to be playing in this game, because if he's playing in this game, he'll be on ball stick all game. Denzel, I believe his name's Ballstick, very underrated wide receiver as well. This is a very underrated team. I like the Huskies here to pull the upset, quote unquote, at home against Michigan. Next is Pittsburgh on the road of North Carolina. This is a very interesting game as well, as North Carolina has lost 2 games in a row. They just haven't played like a good team. I'll just be honest with you. They gave up 70 points to JMU. Then they turned it around last week, pitching out a shutout, and then out of nowhere give up 21 straight points to Duke. Terrible way to end that game. Pittsburgh just had a bye. Pittsburgh gets to relax all last week. They watch you struggle. They're going to come into your house and beat you. This is an early game as well. I like Pittsburgh. They're, I think, only a 2-point favorite here. I like Pittsburgh right on that, too. Give me the Pitt Panthers and Elijah Holstein here to pull the win on the road in Chapel Hill. How about these 2 teams? And oh, by the way, this is probably one of the most underrated matchups in college football this week, as I think this is a top 3 game overall. Texas Tech comes on the road to Arizona, who just came off an emotional win. Both of these teams actually had pretty good wins, as Texas Tech won at home against Cincinnati in a game they pretty much dominated from start to finish, but unfortunately almost gave that game away. And Arizona, on the other hand, their defense has been a little bit stronger than I thought they would be. Obviously, they have one of the best wide receivers in college football in McMillan. Noah Fafita he's been okay, but I knew that Utah was going to lose that game, unfortunately. This was my upset pick last week, Arizona over Utah. A lot of people got upset with me on that. I knew I knew they would lose that game simply because they didn't have Cam Rising. I don't really want to take up too much of time with Cam Rising, but I just don't understand how he's still out in the game time decisions. How can you be a game time decision 3 weeks in a row and just not make the game? That's how I knew Arizona's going to win that one. They were due for it. Arizona's defense, like I said, is a little bit stronger than it has been. Both these teams, the loser of this game, I think, is probably not going to have too much of a chance to make it to the Big 12 title, but the winner of this game is going to set themselves up, and especially Texas Tech, because then they'll have a bye week, and then they play if you look at Texas Tech's schedule, their schedule aligns up really well for 9-3 or even 10-2 if they're able to win this game. I don't think they are. I like Morton. I think he's having a very underrated season, but this Arizona team is they're here for something to prove. They have a little bit trickier schedule, but I like their defense a little bit more. Give me the Wildcats and McMillan over Texas Tech. Speaking of really good matchups, Central Florida travels to Gainesville for taking on Florida at Florida, Ben Hill, Griffin Stadium. And oh, by the way, Florida's going to be running that 2-quarterback set, something I just still don't understand. I think they're ruining, well, I wouldn't say ruining, but they're definitely making it tougher on both these QBs. Just pick one or the other. I just don't understand it. They're still doing it. Now, I think both these quarterbacks are going to have a really good time against Central Florida's defense. Problem is, Central Florida, this is what Gus Malzahn does. I've been saying this since week 1. I wouldn't be surprised if UCF lost at home after a bye week against Colorado, and then, oh, by the way, they come into Gainesville and beat Florida's butt. Now, Central Florida's defense, both these defenses are really bad. Actually, statistically speaking, both of them are outside the top 80. And in the 80s is usually indication of you being bad. I think Central Florida's in like the hundreds. Florida's in like the 90s in total defense. Both of these teams, Central Florida can run the football. Florida has really struggled running the football. That's kind of be the difference in this game, especially with how bad Florida's front seven has been. They gave up 330 yards rushing to Texas A&M, and I get it, Texas A&M's a good rush team. We'll talk about them later on, but still, 330 yards at any level is embarrassing. At home, give me Central Florida, and kind of on a different note here, if Billy Napier loses this game, he's getting fired the next day. So that's I have a dual prediction there. I think Central Florida will win this game, go into Gainesville and pull, I guess, the upset, and then Coach Napier will be fired. How about this game? This is a sneaky, interesting matchup as the Iowa Hawkeyes head over to Ohio Stadium, take on the third-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. By far, these are two very good defensive teams, but if you looked at Iowa, they're a much better rush defensive team than they are pass defense, which could come up huge into this game. And if you looked at years past, Iowa has been relatively good at both. Now, they're still a very good defensive team, but this front seven led by Jay Higgins, who could be a first-round pick, I think he will, at linebacker, they're going to I don't think they're going to shut down. I don't think either team actually is going to shut down the run, but they're going to slow down Judkins and Travion Henderson. And who's going to be that star in this game? It could actually be Caleb Johnson, one of the best running backs in college football, by far the best, I think, in the Big Ten. I know that. I don't even think that's a hot take. Just look what he's doing right now. And oh, by the way, this Iowa offensive line has been sneaky good this year. Watch out for the Hawkeyes here. I don't think they'll win this game, but I think this is going to be a situation that's going to be a little bit closer than what people think. I watched the Michigan State game for the first half. Ohio State, they were up 24-7. Michigan State easily left 14 points off the board, fumbling in the red zone. I mean, this is the issue with Michigan State. This is what's going to be the problem with them for most of this year, as they're going to have these dumb turnovers, and then the interception in the third or fourth quarter there, in which they were probably going to score again. That's Michigan State for you. But I think the Hawkeyes are going to be able to move the football a little bit better. They're going to sit on the ball a little bit better. I'm not expecting them to explode for 40 points, obviously, but their offense is a lot better than what people thought. They're scoring 32 points per game. Again, that's not amazing, but that's way better than what they were doing last year. I mean, they were scoring like 15 points per game in Big Ten play. They score 31 on the road against Minnesota. This team, and if you've been listening to what I've been saying, I've been very vocally hard on the Hawkeyes. Not this week. I think they compete, but I think Ohio State wins this game in the end 30-14 or something like that. This is going to upset a lot of people because South Carolina has been a little bit better, but everyone hates on Ole Miss, asking why they're number 12, whatever. Last week was simply a fluke. Kentucky never wins games in which they rush for under 150 yards, and by the way, they did. They had 200 total yards in that game. Ole Miss outgained them. Ole Miss, that was just a flukish performance by Ole Miss. Terrible way to lose. But I think they're going to bounce back on the road. This is kind of what they need. They need to get out of the home crowd before they take on LSU. And this is a tough kind of stretch here. But Kentucky's a very physical team. So is South Carolina. Thing is, South Carolina's offense, it might be slightly better than Kentucky's, but I don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback. I believe it's going to be Sellers, but still, I think Ole Miss's front seven is going to pretty much dominate South Carolina's offense here. I like the Rebels here. And I know this is a 9-point favorite, and I would never bet 9 points, but I like Ole Miss here to bounce back and win not close, 30-13. They have to start getting these finesse of wins, as losing at home to Kentucky, who's probably going to get to 7-5, maybe 6-6, or maybe even 8-4. That's not a good loss. Game day's heading to California. I'm just going to keep this one short and sweet. Miami's going to win this game. They have too much offensive firepower, and I was kind of being conservative with the score. I could see this being a 45-17 type deal. California's just not that good of a team. I know they had that big win at Auburn, but Auburn likes to give away games. So let's just be real here. Auburn is 2-3, in which they easily could be 5-0. They've outplayed pretty much every team that they've played. And, they're giving away the games. I think Cal's going to be able to run the football here, but that's not going to be enough. I like Miami big over Cal. How about the Arkansas Razorbacks here at home? They're, I believe, a 10-point home underdog. Tennessee's ranked 4th in the nation, finally into that top 5. They've definitely deserved it. They've had a relatively tougher schedule at Oklahoma, took care of business, playing at Charlotte against NC State. Absolutely just humiliated NC State. And now they go on the road against Arkansas. Kind of a, like I said, tougher schedule here for Tennessee and a very young QB. I think this is going to be a close game. Now, the thing I do worry about for Arkansas, their sake, is they've played 2 very physical games in a row. How much left in the tank do they have, especially with their best wide receiver? I don't know if he's playing in this game, Armstrong. But Taylon Green, he's been able to make some plays, and then he turns around and throws interceptions or fumbles that just cost them the games. That's basically why this team is not 5-0. This team has played good enough to win all 5 of their games. They should at least be 4-1, especially beating Oklahoma State on the road. Choked away that game, and then I wouldn't say they choked away against Texas A&M, but I thought they outplayed Texas A&M, and they found a way to lose. That's Arkansas for you. I think, and unfortunately for Sam Pittman and Arkansas fans, I think this is going to be another close one. Arkansas's rush defense, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Their rush defense has been a lot better than I thought. Their pass defense is okay, but the rush defense, that front seven, led by Landon Johnson, has been very, very good. I'll give you credit where credit is due. I said that their defense would finish mediocre. That might not necessarily be the case, as Arkansas is a lot better than what people thought. And I'm telling you, if they return pieces going into next year, this has potential to be a legit dark horse playoff team for next season. But I'm not going to worry about next season. You got a big game here at home against Tennessee. I like the Vols to win. I think it's kind of I think they're going to be able to run the football a little bit better than Texas A&M, but mainly in that fourth quarter. They're going to wear down Arkansas and pull away. I think this is a closer than expected type deal, but give me Tennessee. Lastly, we're going to talk about number 9, Missouri, who shouldn't even be in the top 10, but I digress. Taking on number 25, Texas A&M. There are 26 total teams in the top 25. That's the AP poll for you. They have 2 25s. That might be the first time I've ever seen that in my life. But I digress with that. Texas A&M comes in as a couple-point favorite, and I like Texas A&M in this game. I know Missouri just had a bye week, but they've played some bad football over the past 2 weeks prior to their bye week. Should have probably lost to Vanderbilt. I feel bad. I feel terrible for Vandy. They just found a way to lose that game. They found a way to lose to Georgia State as well. Vandy could easily be 4-0. I just feel bad for Vandy. I like head coach Clark Lee, but still, and Diego Pieva, transfer from New Mexico State. It's just a tough way to lose for Vandy. It's just how it's going to be. I think Missouri is very overrated. They're overranked. And this is an elimination game, in my opinion, for the playoffs because these are 2 dark horse teams. Now, if Missouri goes on the road and wins this game, can someone please show me at least 3 more losses? Because I don't think you can. I don't see 3 more losses for the Tigers instantly. And you could kind of say the same thing for Texas A&M. They get all their tough games at home. This is a tricky game as well against a solid Missouri team, but they're just overranked. So I think this is an elimination game for both these teams because the loser of this game is probably at best going 10-2 if you're Missouri, but 9-3 realistically. But I like Texas A&M. I think their defensive line is going to control this game. By far the best team Missouri has played. And you could probably say the same thing for Texas A&M. But A&M's starting to get better defensively. Their rush game is something serious. I get it. Missouri's front seven has been actually a lot better than what people have thought. And their defense as a whole has been a little bit better than what people have thought. But this is a game in which Missouri is due for a loss. I'm sorry. I've been saying it all week. Or all season. And it's no hate towards Missouri. Just watch them play football. Now, they have an elite wide receiver in Luther Burden, as well as a couple other good wide receivers. But they're just not a top 10 team. I like the Aggies here in a situation in which this should have probably been a night game, but I digress with that, or at least 3:30. Put both these teams at noon. Give me Texas A&M's defensive line in this one in a lower scoring 24-20 type deal. But this has been my predictions for Week 6. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're new. Tell me where I'm wrong. You know what? Everyone just spam I'm wrong all the time. Please. I love seeing it. 37-13 overall in straight picks. Tell me, well, I can already hear the excuse. Well, that's 34 gimme games. Okay, cool. Sure, thanks. Now that I say that, I'm probably going to go 3-7, right? Wouldn't that be funny? And then you could actually laugh in my face. But I digress. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And just a reminder, we're going to have a live stream tomorrow morning on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel. You can catch me making picks and talking college football for about an hour or so. We call it SG1 Sports Game Day Live. We'll have a celebrity guest pick. We'll have a picker who will pick some games. We have 12 games for him to pick. See how that goes. Should have some fun. Make sure to come out for the stream tomorrow. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.